We're at part 43 of the Final Fantasy VI commentary, guys. Now we're at the final battle of the game.
Okay, let's see how far I get in this video.
Oh, I'm already
Okay, can I
gone.
make a guess? I guess you'll make it to World 5-4.
No, I can make it farther than that. However, in over 15 minutes.
And the final boss will be God. God is looking especially ridiculous today, but
He got himself some neat techno strobe lights for this ultimate appearance.
I actually do think that triangle effect is pretty cool.
alright, you know what, this pisses me off, and Sephiroth did it too. Okay, just tossing the characters around like rag dolls right before the battle, and then the battle starts, and you just spam Ultima a few times, and he just croaks.
The power of a cutscene?
Yeah.
Sephiroth did the same goddamn thing. You know what, Sephiroth did pretty much everything this boss does, except for talk. Now that I think about it.
I do like the open-worlded aspect of the world of Ruin, but also it also means that we don't really get any sort of sense of the villains. Like, this is the only time Kefka's shown up for a good while, so you don't really get, there's no real sense that anything bad's going to happen soon. There's no real urgency.
This is the only time you see him in the world of Ruin.
Yeah.
The closest comparison I can think of is Mass Effect 2. Okay, there's a villain. You know exactly where you're supposed to go. You're just gathering allies to get ready. The entire time you're gathering allies, nothing is actually happening as far as those villains go.
If you wanted to,
I love that line, by the way. You sound like chapters from a self-help book.
Yeah, you're going into that. You're absolutely right. Like, if you absolutely wanted to, if you're masochistic, you can complete this game with only Celeste, Edgar, and Setzer. I don't know how the hell you're supposed to do that, considering all the boss fights you gotta do, but it's certainly possible.
And imagine it requires
them
a ton
all
of
to level
grinding.
99 and
Hope for the best.
the ninjas don't throw things at you. Hope the ninjas don't throw things at you.
Well, it's really convenient that this mountain decided to rise where I was standing.
This single scene is one reason I want to see this game remade for the PS3.
Yeah, you'd imagine that they do some cool camera things and stuff.
Not only that, but Kefka's voice acting would be spectacular for this. That and seeing the world blasted with a laser in HD would be kind of cool.
Well, Kefka's theme just sort of plays in the background.
Okay, so...
Kinda wish it would explain what it meant by this before you went and...
Yeah, actually, going into that, when I first got to this part of the game, I actually thought you only could select 4 characters. I don't know idea why I went up to 12, but then I found out that what's going on here is that since you're entering the final battle, it's a 4-tiered battle. Every time a character dies in the middle of during one of the tiers, by the time you get to the next tier, the next character up on the list replaces the character that died. And now we have the beginning of what I consider the best final boss music ever in Final Fantasy history. It's called Dancing Mad. It's a 17-minute musical piece. But goddammit, I love this track from beginning to end.
Well, it's 17 minutes when you play all the parts looped once, right next to each other.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And and one of the coolest things I do here from a musical standpoint is I actually defeat the tiers right as their musical section ends. So by the time I get to the second tier, their musical piece starts up immediately. I'd never done that before through all my playthroughs, and I was kind of proud that I did that actually.
What a coincidence.
Here we are talking right on over it.
It's a commentary.
Do you have a favorite part of the song? I assume if you like the last part of the piece the best, when you're actually fighting.
When you're fighting Kefka?
Yeah.
I do love Kefka's part the most, but if I had to choose between the first 3 tiers, it would probably be the very last tier before Kefka.
Yeah,
Well, that makes sense. It sort of builds upon itself.
Yeah. But So one of the things I love so much about the Super Nintendo version of this fight is the acoustics. The echo effects that you're getting, the more elaborate it becomes the further you go up. Because that no other port does. The PlayStation port doesn't do that, which pisses me off, and the Game Boy Advance port doesn't do that either.
Well, at least for the Game Boy port, it's understandable because of the sound quality.
Actually, I was really surprised. We were going into earlier about how most Super Nintendo ports took a hit in sound quality when it came to being ported to the Game Boy Advance. As Dancing Mad still managed to sound pretty damn good for Game Boy Advance standards. Still though, I still think nothing beats this version of the song with the acoustics the Super Nintendo version is giving off.
It's actually another reason that I want to see this remade for the PS3, the inevitable orchestral version.
Well, I love orchestral remixes of game music.
Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think this song has ever gotten an orchestral arrangement. There was the Black Maidens rock song, the rock version.
Well, you see, I just want to hear it made with the same kind of quality as the orchestral One-Winged Angel thing.
One-Winged Angel is sort of overplayed.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying I want Dancing Mad to have a version to be redone with that kind of quality is what I'm saying. Maybe Dancing Mad is maybe you know what, I just brought up One-Winged Angel because it's a final boss theme, but what I really mean are like the Final Fantasy VII reunion tracks, not just One-Winged Angel, but like the main theme, Aerith's theme, etc.
Well, way back when, I do know that they arranged Terra's theme, Kefka's theme in an orchestral soundtrack for Final Fantasy VI songs, but
I know what you're talking. I do know what you're talking about, actually.
But they picked some sort of odd choices, like Terra's theme
like Terra's theme, Kefka's theme, the Phantom Train theme. I do know that was arranged. You're right. But like the final boss music was untouched. It was.
They didn't pick any battle themes, which I thought really odd. And this is also slightly unrelated, but I know somewhere out there's a orchestral arrangement of the Red Wings theme from Final Fantasy IV that I really like.
I think I know which one you're talking about, and I really do like that version too. Isn't it like a mix of orchestral and rock, or is it just pure orchestral?
It's pure orchestral. I think it's an old recording from like a Super Nintendo just general thing. I don't really remember. It's been a while.
By the way, dudes, I can't believe nobody's asked this yet, but what the fuck are we fighting right now?
I'm pretty sure Full Metal Alchemist went into this territory a bit, didn't it? This is when a transmutation goes horribly wrong.
Envy?
Yeah. Doesn't explain the tiger head in the bottom right, though. I don't.
Envy never quite got this weird.
Oh, there you are, Ryan. Of course, we bring Full Metal Alchemist into the conversation.
It's something I can fucking talk about.
Don't they make fun of this boss fight in the Scott Pilgrim game?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Well, I actually think it's this section right here.
Like, I do like when you're fighting the last boyfriend. I don't really know Scott Pilgrim, but they sort of have this tiered statue kind of look to him, which I thought was a Final Fantasy VI reference, but I wasn't sure.
Well, I think what we're actually supposed to be fighting right now are the statues of balance in their weird mutant absorbed forms. But at what point Kefka summons these things, where he was keeping them the whole time, or why he appears at the top as God, I'm not entirely sure. I think they forgot to explain that part. They also forgot to explain it in Final Fantasy VII.
It's actually as the heroes at 10 hits thing, which is not going to touch me in the slightest because I have the Golem spell summoned. But actually, what's funny thing here is that these bosses that we're fighting right now are not actually sprites. They're part of the background.
They are?
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Well, I guess
Well, they have to be because the background scrolls up from phase to phase. So
yeah.
The only actual enemy in this fight that is an enemy sprite is Kefka himself.
So I assume they have like an invisible just sort of thing. For
they have an invisible hitbox. Yeah.
Okay.
Because notice when like the spell Meteor is cast or Ultima, Usually when you cast a spell like Meteor, like the sprites overlap the spell animation itself. But you noticed there earlier that Meteor was completely overlapping the enemy's sprite, which means they're part of the background.
It is a really nice effect the way you scroll up from phase to phase, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can sort of forgive the technical limitations because it does work in a lot of ways.
My least favorite of the tiers. You know, there's only two sections to this particular boss fight, but if you're not properly prepared when you defeat this thing, it could really fuck you over. Oh, for like first of all, like the top left thing right there, the head that Edgar just chainsawed, like only has about like 9,999 HP, I believe. So it goes down really quickly. But it's the bottom right part of the fight that when you kill, it does an attack called Calmness. It does it twice in a row, which is instant kill to two of your characters. And before that, it has a move called I think it's either called Train or Calmed Grand Train, which not only casts darkness on your characters, which again does nothing, but it also silences every single character, so you can't use magic.
That sucks.
It does suck. See, if you don't have remedies in your inventory, the last boss is gonna get a little harder.
Oh, and bless you, Ryan. Sneezed like 3 times.
Assuming it's Ryan and not the pretzel bag.
It is me.
Alright, I guess that means the top part is dead.
Yeah, the top part's not attacking anymore.
Ah.
Yes, yeah. Again, I love those acoustics.
You are, of course, going slightly easy on it right now.
I assume you're trying to reserve MP and such.
I'm going easy on it now so I can get Life 3 cast on everybody because I don't want to lose anybody in this fight.
Makes sense.
But like I said before, when you kill the last part of this tier, it's gonna cast Calmness twice, which is instant kill. So I'm making sure I got everybody prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, claw that bitch in the face, Saban. Do it again.
One more time.
Now give it a chainsaw. That a boy.
Remember in Final Fantasy IV when casting Meteo killed yourself?
When Meteo was serious business.
Damn it!
You can't hurt Terra.
No, Celeste just got revived. You wound up
so
losing
bad about
someone
that.
anyway. You wound up losing someone anyway. Oh well.
Well, so now instead of Celis, you'll have your number 5 pick?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the way Kefka comes down from the sky because he looks like the god in those budget plays that gets lowered onto the stage by like fucking.
All you need is a piece of string.
By a string and a winch. Yes, that is exactly the impression I got the first time I saw this. He is literally the god from the machine.
Why do I picture some kind of energy beam coming out of his hand?
Because that looks like what he's trying to do.
Yeah. So yeah, Kefka's evil motivation, destroying things. Not the deepest villain out there.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoyable, but not particularly deep.
He always starts the battle with Fallen 1, so get that Cure 3 ready immediately.
Fallen 1. I see what you did there, Kefka. See, it's funny because it reduces your HP to 1.
Well, what do you think of the advanced translation, which calls it Heartless Angel?
I think Fallen 1 is funnier. On the other hand, though, Heartless Angel is just naming it the same thing as what it was named in 7, when Sephiroth used it. It's literally the same attack in 7. It It has the same goddamn animation, except with 3D graphics.
If you think about it, Sephiroth from 7 and Kefka here are very similar in a lot of ways, you know.
Yes,
the
they
angel
are.
look, they send
Like
tend to
I,
act similar
like
from
I
what
said for the last part, okay, or maybe it was this part. Kefka and Sephiroth do the same things in their final scene, except that Sephiroth doesn't talk. Which
Jason
makes
Voorhees does nothing.
Everyone,
damn it.
everyone with sunglasses on their faces is making it really hard to take this scene seriously.
Well, they're
Well,
standing right in front of the sun. It must be pretty bright.
Very true, very true. But anyway, as you notice earlier, he hit me with the spell called Trade, which gave everybody those bitchin' sunglasses, but it also cast Silent on everybody, so I had to divert my attention to cast Remedy on everybody. But yeah, but you know what? The most disappointing thing about Kefka is that he doesn't really have a lot of HP. Actually, I think his HP is only about like 65,000, which is pathetically low compared to other boss fights in the series. Like Zero Mist from Final Fantasy IV had like actually 200,000 HP.
Are we
Is
going
that
to-
including the part where he
going to
heals
see his
himself at the
special
end?
attack.
Yeah, that does include. Yeah, that does include himself where he healed himself at the end. Because you're technically removing 100,000 HP at a time. Well,
The luminous special attack kicked in.
Yeah.
That was sort of a
Nice.
neat thing with the music, where as soon as the screen started shaking and stuff, the music kicked back up, which I thought,
Yeah,
which is sort of a neat coincidence.
What Kefka was about to do was his ultimate move called Goner, which
Wait, it's over?
yeah, it's over.
That was quick.
Yeah, so, it's the most disappointing thing with Kefka is he's really not that hard of a fight.
By the way, Ted, 6'2". Screw you.
Damn it!
I'm sorry, did I miss something there?
That's the level of Mario Brothers he
He's
was
still
in.
playing Mario Brothers.
Okay, how about this? Next challenge. Get to Mountain 10 and Ice Climber before the end of the part.
Ryan, the next part is 20 minutes long. You have until then to beat the game.
Can
I'll
you
beat
do
the
it?
game by then.
Okay, you have until then to beat the second quest.
All right, but
With
but
or
on the
without
subject
warp
of,
zones.
on the subject of what we were just talking about, that's pretty much par for the course with Final Fantasy's final bosses. They're pretty easy unless you didn't do any grinding or extra quests or anything at all.
Like me in Final Fantasy IV.
Yeah, I can picture that ending pretty badly.
Yep, pretty much.